Welcome into the opening line report Monday morning, April 19th. Each and every Monday morning, Teddy Covers and I doing the opening line report right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, Twitter as well, at Teddy_Covers, at Drew Martin Bets. Guys, thanks for joining us. We're talking a little NFL draft, NFL odds to make the playoffs, little MLB as well. So feel free to join us in the chat box or on Twitter. However you're watching, we appreciate it. Please smash the like button. Happy Monday morning to you, Teddy. How you feeling today, buddy?
I'm feeling right. I'm going to get my first shot this afternoon, Drew. So we'll be immunized at some point in the not too distant future, but I'm not looking forward to it, dude. I've avoided all of this COVID stuff the whole way, just sitting quietly. And then today I got to go get some of it injected into my body. So I'm not looking forward to that. But it is what it is, man. And it's certainly been an issue, obviously, around the sporting world. It'll be an issue for many of these NFL teams. You know, they want the teams themselves to be immunized by training camp. And we'll see how well that goes at the NFL level. But I'm getting my shot today, dude. I'm nervous.
You're okay. I was going to ask, what your overall feelings are. Are you kind of getting dragged there? Or are you wanting to go willingly? How is this all working in the Covers household?
It had to be done. I've been avoid. I told Kara to make an appointment like a month ago, and she finally got around to doing it. So, I guess it's the equivalent of a crying call in poker. Where you're like, well, there's so much in the pot. And my odds, I might be, maybe he's bluffing, it's one of those deals. You got to get it done. That's the truth of it. So today's, I guess, step one, and then there's a second shot, and then you have to still wait a couple of weeks before you're fully immunized. But it is what it is. It's got to be done. So it's grin and bear it.
Yeah, that was the best analogy I've probably heard here, Teddy, about getting your shot. It's a crying call in poker. That's a great way to explain it, buddy.
Oh, cool. It kind of is. I don't know. Did you play poker, Drew? I never knew you to be a poker player much.
I'm not, mainly because I just feel like I don't think I'm that great of a poker player. So I'll play every now and again, but nothing high stakes, just kind of friendly type of stuff,
Sure.
20, 50, maybe even $100 buy-in if I'm really feeling it. After that, I kind of pump the brakes on it, Teddy. Just guys like you, I think would pretty much take me to the shed. And I got kind of tired after doing it a number of times and just like, what, this isn't for me.
Yeah. Anytime you want to play, let me know.
Exactly. I just threw out my hand there. I'm not the greatest of poker players, but it's fun to hang out with the boys type deal. But
Sure,
I'd rather spend my time on sports betting, investing, that kind of stuff where I feel like I have an edge anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time, in the aughts, from about 2003 to about 2008, where I had an edge at every poker table, or most of the poker tables I sat down at. But that was a long time in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
I got a WSOP cash in the senior event last time that I was thrilled with.
Remember that.
But I'm not I'm not anywhere near at the level that I was, 10, 15 years ago. I'm a recreational player these days myself. Whatever. I remember the last time I played.
Well, we'll stick to the stuff where you're a little bit more than recreational, and that's putting it lightly, guys. NFL season wins well over 70% or over 70% since 2001, guys. WagerTalk, sportsmemo.com. Did I say that wrong? Actually, 69%. Is that right?
Yeah. 69, okay. 69%. So we don't want to, we try, and that's the beauty of the show. With all the shows I do, it's like, I don't mind when people note that it was this. I'd rather give accurate info and correct someone than give inaccurate info and be like, oh, yeah, not correct anyone. But yes, it's 69% long-term in the NFL. Another winning year last year, 3-1 with the 4 releases. And it's been good short-term and long-term. So the work already in progress for NFL season wins. Again, the report won't come out till either at some point in July or August. We're going to gauge the markets. I don't want to give even a glimpse of what the report will come out blank. It'll be July. It'll be some point either July, beginning of July, end of July, beginning. The latest it'll come is beginning of August. It'll be the first week of August, but it may well come before that.
Okay. And guys, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that over 70. I mean, that's ridiculous here. We're talking since 2001, 91 and 41, 69% NFL season win totals. You can catch it at sportsmemo.com. Like Teddy said, a little bit later in the summer, we got Milwaukee Brewers, San Diego Padres free play up on Teddy's page. Go check it out. I agree with him, actually. Where he's going with this, it's my best bet on the MLB show, which comes up right after this show. So stay tuned to the Wager Talk YouTube channel. But guys, let's get into what you came to click on the link for. And huge shout out to Tyron Boyd, Mike Campbell, Jonathan, teasing the NFL, all joining us, Sterling as well in the chat box. Feel free to throw out any questions into the chat box or on Twitter. We'll answer them here live. Any Vegas questions, NFL questions, MLB, any type of betting questions, all good. Lifestyle works as well. So anywhere you guys want to go, we're welcome to it. Teddy, we got odds to make the playoffs here. Looking at all of these, we're getting some, shaded lines, some competitive prices near the -110. But is this a type of bet that you get involved with? Obviously, dominating the season win total market. Odds to make the playoffs. Is this a type of bet that you recommend out there to sports bettors?
Absolutely. And here's why. Okay. The bets that you want to be making in the off season, the bets with your best positive expectation opportunities, are the bets with two options, yes or no,
right,
over or under. When you start talking about which team's going to win the division, now it's 4 teams in each division. And the book takeout, the juice in those wagers is much bigger than the juice in the simple yes-no wagers. So when you talk about will a team make the playoffs, simple yes-no, the VIG's lower, the juice is lower. And with every single one of these wagers, there are no pushes here. Someone's going to make the playoffs, someone's not going to make the playoffs. So it's not like you have to worry about locking your money up all year for no decision. It's not like you have to worry about locking your money up all year for a situation where the payout isn't what it's supposed to be. These are the payouts that they're supposed to be at, and it's simple yes-no wagers. So as a general thought process, the will a team or won't a team make the playoffs is one of the better future bets you can make in the NFL. And that's why we decided to go through these the lines. And these are the first make the playoff numbers. Last week we talked about Virgin win total numbers. These are close to Virgin make the playoff numbers. The market is not mature yet on these numbers. So it's a situation where when you don't have a mature marketplace, there will be dramatic variances from one book to the next. So it's also a great time of the year for these will they or won't they make the playoffs lines for line shoppers.
Okay, Teddy. And how do you want to attack this? I mean, the first thing that comes off, the top of my head here is seeing these minus on one side, like just at the top of the card here. We're seeing the Arizona Cardinals -240 to the no, +190 to the yes. This being a bet where it's going to take a little while to either get paid or lose your money. Therefore, as a sports bettor, my first thought is to look towards the plus prices, just because I don't like to lay huge minus prices in the sports book hold my money for a long period of time. So that's how I would look to attack these. But do you have any kind of just, I guess, rules of betting these that you try to stick to?
It's not a plus price, negative price situation. It's how good is this team? How good is their division? How good is their conference? How tough is their schedule versus the yes-no payouts?
Okay.
I mean, we can go in alphabetical order if you want. At the top, Arizona, -240. And again, these odds, we're looking at one global book here. Odds vary dramatically from book to book, and really dramatically is the appropriate word. But you're getting almost a 2-to-1 payout on a team like Arizona to just make the play. You don't have to win the division to make the playoffs. There are worse bets to make than Arizona to make the playoffs next year. It's certainly a team that showed signs last year. But again, one of the things that I do wait for, and these aren't bets that I'm firing at the window right now, I want that schedule out. All right, I want the schedule released. I don't want the list of opponents. I want the list of opponents and when, because the difference between a list of opponents in an NFL schedule, which is what we have now, and all right, you're playing this team in week 1 and this team in week 2 and this team in week 3 and this team in week 17 and this team in week 18. There's so much nuance when it comes to the schedule. Do you play elite teams down the stretch? Maybe a week 18 game against a team that's going to be resting starters. Do you play your toughest foes early and then you're going to get better down the stretch? Do you play your weaker foes early and then you're going to have some momentum going into the tougher parts of the schedule? Do you have a schedule where you're flying back and forth east-west every week in, week out? Those are some of the nuances from the schedule that will legitimately affect teams' win totals, teams' capacity to make the playoffs. But at first glance, at first thought, Arizona's a 2-1 dog to make the playoffs. To me, it jumps off the page a little bit. I do think the Cardinals are going to be a pretty good team, even in a tough division.
I could see that in the NFC West, Eddie, as well. We got the Atlanta Falcons, no, minus 450, yes, plus 325. Baltimore Ravens, yes, minus 450, plus 325 on the no. The exact same prices here for the Atlanta Falcons and Baltimore Ravens. Anything quickly in these two teams, Teddy?
I mean, when you look at the NFC South, all right, you have New Orleans, who has, I'm not going to say quarterback issues, but they've got quarterback issues, and it's a roster somewhat in transition. You have a Carolina team that really wasn't all that a year ago. And I do expect the Panthers to be better this year, but how much is another question. Then, of course, there's Tampa Bay, who's one, Tom Brady hamstring away from being a mediocre squad. So I guess my point is that even though on paper that division, the thought process, that division's super tough, it wouldn't shock me if a team like Atlanta, a team that has pieces in place, that's underachieved, if they end up being a good notch or two better than expected. First glance, Atlanta at the big plus price, better than 3-1 dog to make the postseason. Again, there's dumber bets than that one.
Yeah, I would look towards Atlanta in the yes as well, guys. We got Buffalo Bills, yes, minus 290, no, plus 230, and the Carolina Panthers, no, minus 260, yes, plus 200. Anything with the Buffalo Bills or Carolina Panthers, Teddy?
Oh, I was looking at the very next one on the list, and that's the Chicago Bears. In terms of Bills Panthers, initially they look priced appropriately for me. They really do. There may be some upside on Carolina. It's 2-1 dogs, but I'm not necessarily rushing to the betting window to make that wager. But it's less than 3-1 for the Bears not to make the playoffs. Give you a chance to bet against Andy Dalton again in a different way if you choose to do so. And I'm not a fan of the Chicago Bulls coming into the offseason or the meat of the offseason. It's a Bears team that has. Did I say the Chicago Bulls?
You did, but then you said the Bears again, so I think.
Yeah, I know. I did a show earlier, and I called the whatever. It doesn't matter. I called the Carolina Hurricanes the Carolina Panthers, and that's not right either. So it is what it is. Bottom line is, I don't think the Bears are very good. And there's at least two teams in that division and a loaded conference that have me think that the Bears, at the no, would be the only way I would look in that one. That one stands out to me a little bit as well.
Okay, and I guess any of the other C's or the Dallas Cowboys here, we're seeing the Cincinnati Bengals, no, minus 600, yes, plus 400. I would find it hard to lay minus 600, even though the Bengals don't look good. We got the Cleveland Browns, minus 170 to the yes, no, plus 140. And the Dallas Cowboys, yes, minus 160, no, plus 130. Anything here, Teddy?
Yeah, again, first glance, first gut reaction, Cleveland, yes, Dallas, no. All right, the Browns are really good. All right, and Cleveland was never a destination location for free agents. Now it is. The guys that they want, the guys they're targeting are signing with Cleveland. That's a loaded team. Browns are, at minus 170. To me, that's cheap. Even a division with obviously a Ravens squad that's highly regarded, and a Steelers squad that I'm not in love with, not even a little bit. And then you have the Dallas side of the equation. What's good? What's the upside for Dallas? And the upside, I guess, is that everyone else in the division is weak, which makes them live. But Dak Prescott's not in a QB contract year anymore. You know, the offensive line wasn't good last year. The defense has holes everywhere. Dallas, to me, is no favorite to make the playoffs. Certainly not a minus 160 favorite. I would look at the no for the Cowboys.
We got the Denver Broncos up next. No, minus 350. Yes, plus 275. Detroit Lions, no, minus 900. Yes, plus 550. And the Green Bay Packers, yes, minus 650. No, plus 425. Anything you like here with these three teams?
You know, the no on the Packers at plus 425 is interesting, you know. And again, Green Bay is just one Aaron Rodgers injury or one team chemistry concern of falling back into the pack. They've been dominant in the regular season each of the last 2 years. And again, at 4-1, better than 4-1. It's not like if it cashes 1 in 5 times at plus 425, that's a positive expectation wager. I would look at Green Bay no, and Denver at a nice plus price is the yes. I like that Broncos team. On paper, they're loaded in a lot of different areas. And of course, it's the Drew Lock question. Can Drew Lock play? And there's nobody behind him either for Denver. So they do have a QB concern. But take the QB out of the equation, that's a playoff team. And maybe they got a playoff level QB. Again, at nearly 3-1, I can only look at the Broncos as a bet on squad, not a bet against.
Yeah, I like that as well. Maybe looking towards the Broncos at the yes. Kind of a wide open division to get the wild card, I would say. And heck, an injury with the Chiefs quarterback away from maybe that division being up for grabs, and the Chiefs being falling into that category of a Super Bowl loser fade. You know what I mean, Teddy?
And a Super Bowl loser fade with offensive line issues, with defensive issues, with skill position talent issues. The Chiefs to make the playoffs, yes, minus 1,200, no, plus 650. There's dumber bets than the no plus 650 on Kansas City. I'll tell you that right now. For as good as Mahomes is and for as good as the Chiefs has been, and betting Andy Reid in the regular season has been a consistent moneymaker for 20 years. But if there's a year that KC might have a hiccup, this could be of that season. You look at the other end of the equation, teams like the Texans, where the no is minus 1,000 to make the playoffs, or the Jaguars, and the Jaguars with the no minus 450. To me, that seems low. I would price Jacksonville and Houston fairly comparably coming into the campaign. And again, you have the rookie QB. I understand the Urban Meyer hype, but it's a Jags team with holes everywhere. It's going to take more than a coach and a quarterback to get that team to the postseason. Again, I'm not, minus 450 is a season-long wager. There's probably better bets to make than that one. But if I'm getting involved with the Jags, I'm going to play the no.
The no at minus 450 here. Yes, was plus 325. The only one we missed here is the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, plus minus 210 at yes. No, plus 170. And then we do have the Chiefs. Yes, minus 1,200 and no, plus 650. That Chiefs plus 650 to the no, Teddy. I know it's a huge underdog, and some people really liking the Chiefs, but the Super Bowl fade, I think this is the one I like the most in terms of plus price value here because, a little bit of longevity and how long the sports book's holding your money.
And again, you have a Chargers team that is better than they were a year ago. We saw what they did down the stretch last year. The Chargers, there's a ton of upside. A Broncos team that I think will be better than it was a year ago. And even with my concerns about the Raiders and that offensive line. And, look at the Raiders at plus 285 to make the playoffs. The markets are not looking at Vegas as a team that's likely to improve. But with 2 of the 3 teams in the division in the AFC West that are going to be better, all right, that, again, gives some impetus to, couldn't someone beat KC and win this division? Yeah, maybe somebody could.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. We got I guess some other teams here, Teddy. New England Patriots, no, minus 160. Yes, plus 130. Vikings, no, minus 175. Yes, plus 145. The Dolphins, no, minus 165. Dolphins at yes, plus 135. They're in South Florida. I could see that plus price on the Dolphins being one that I'm gravitating here towards, Teddy. Anything here on these 3 teams?
I mean, look, there's some cheap prices here. All right. The Rams at less than 2-1, minus 180. The Rams make sense to me to be a playoff type team. The Dolphins at a plus price, absolutely. And again, the markets are looking at Miami and saying they were lucky last year. My clients and I made a lot of money with the Dolphins last year, and I wouldn't be surprised to make money with the Dolphins again this year. I think the markets are just behind that team, and I can only take them at the plus price. I don't know what to do with I really don't know what to do with the Patriots. In theory, they're going to be a lot better than they were last year. They had so many injuries and so much attrition, and the Patriots, Belichick didn't have a chance to instill a system in that team. They get a ton of guys back from injury. They spend a ton of money in free agency. There's a lot of buy now for New England. But for them to make the playoffs, Cam Newton's got to be a good quarterback. And I haven't seen Cam Newton be a good quarterback in like 5 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm there with New England yet.
Yeah, it's going to be how does Cam Newton play, in my opinion, there. We got just a couple others. Teddy, I'll read out Tampa Bay Bucks, minus 750 at the yes, no, plus 475. Tennessee Titans, minus 170 to the yes, no, plus 140. Washington Football Team, no, minus 215. Yes, plus 175. Of course, guys, if you're just joining us, we're talking about playoffs, yes or no odds here. Steelers, no, minus 165. Yes, plus 135. 49ers, maybe a bounce back year here. Yes, minus 155. That's what the market's pricing here, Teddy. No, plus 125. Anything here on these teams, or really any other best bets that you're liking here to make the playoffs or not?
So let's talk about San Fran for a minute, because these odds are going to shift and potentially dramatically based on what the 49ers do with that number one pick. Everyone's assuming they're taking a QB. The question is, if they take a QB, is he starting on opening day? Is it going to be Garoppolo for another year? The QB is going to be sitting on the bench. But if the Niners draft a QB with their first round pick, that number could well go down. Mm-hmm. The yes at minus 155. I look at San Fran and say this is a team that had more injuries than anybody in the league last year, except for Philadelphia and Dallas, and that it's a coach we like and a team that is primed for a bounce back campaign. And the team right underneath them, the Seattle Seahawks, will basically pick them minus 120 to the yes, minus 110 to the no at this book that's using 30-cent lines. What's the upside on Seattle? That's a team that, to me, is just trended in the wrong direction this offseason in a number of different ways. And I would look to bet the Seahawks no, as opposed to yes, to make the postseason.
All right, guys. Playoffs, will teams make the playoffs or not? Went through a bunch of them here, guys. Check out Teddy Covers, sportsmemo.com. He's got Milwaukee Brewers, San Diego Padres free play up right now. Also, another 16-3, 84% angle winner up here. $9 Monday at Sports Memo and WagerTalk.com. Since in the NBA since last August, he's 103-79. That's 57%. So in the NBA, seeing it well. Check him out on the hardwood plays, up and available. $9 Monday. WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Teddy, a little transition here. 10 minutes left. NFL draft. Is NFL draft something that you look to bet and have done in years past and look to do pretty heavily here this season, or is it something you kind of stay away from?
So the NFL draft, there are guys at Sports Memo and Wager Talk that's what they focus on. All right, that they're spending their time looking at NFL draft day in, day out. That's not the way I do it. So I have not put the time in to be making a whole bunch of NFL draft wagers. I'm familiar with the basic concepts of what's going on with the NFL draft, but I'm much more interested in the NFL future markets when it comes to what the teams are supposed to do in 2021. And as you see, with the win totals coming out before the draft, with the odds to make the playoffs coming out before the draft, the betting markets themselves, not all that concerned with the draft as a leading indicator for how teams are going to be, whether they're going to be good or bad next year. So I guess a short answer, I'm making a long, you asked me a question I'm giving a long answer to. The answer is I don't do a ton with the draft props. No. But
okay.
The focus has always been looking at the teams as a whole, not trying to predict how many quarterbacks or how many running backs are going to get taken in the first round, or what the over/under on a draft guy's draft position is going to be.
Yeah, I agree with you that like those kind of bets, guys, where it's how many running backs will be chosen in the first round, or quarterbacks at 5.5. How many will go in the first round? You're having to handicap a lot of teams' decisions. And those type of bets I tend to stay away from. I'd rather go with the player. Is he drafted before this slot in the draft? I think that's a little bit easier just conceptually for me to grasp. So I tend to look towards the quarterbacks. Teddy, we've seen a lot of people kind of run towards Mac Jones. Now they've taken it off the board at a lot of sports books here, but him at 3.5 was what we saw last week. That one's kind of fascinating for me, Teddy, just because I view Mac Jones as more of a solid NFL backup quarterback. I don't really think that he's going to have this great NFL career. Therefore, I don't see him being picked in the first three picks of the draft. So I look towards over, meaning he'll be picked in the 4th pick of the draft or less, and you can cash there. Not sure if you have anything kind of NFL quarterback wise, what you would look to bet and how you would really rank these quarterbacks going into the draft.
So the key concept is that this is the rankings of the quarterbacks. There's Trevor Lawrence, and then there's everybody else. Okay, that's how you rank the quarterbacks. Okay, that's how I rank the quarterbacks. But make no mistake about it. Okay, you and I watch college football. Okay, we watch a lot of college football. Every Saturday for 4 years, or however many years, we've seen these QBs play. Okay. We have our opinions. The draft evaluators, the guys for the team, the teams that put them through all the workouts and, measure all the measurables and ask the Wonderlic questions to measure some of the unmeasurables. And so the draft experts who can literally have every metric in the world at their disposal. Okay, they make their choices. And the GMs who have all their scouting staffs. And again, you and I just watch college football. We're not sitting there rewinding film 50 times. The NFL teams have these, staffs of interns and whoever else is sitting there watching every guy, every snap that they've ever played. And even with all of that information that the NFL GMs and what? 2/3 of draft choices are busts? Half?
Yeah, I would say more than half. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's anywhere between, a half and 2/3 of draft choices will not get re-signed by the team that drafted them. So what does that tell you? It tells you that nobody knows shit. Okay. Nobody. The experts don't know it. Todd McShay doesn't know it. You don't know it. I don't know it. There's 15 times I've looked at a guy and said, oh my God, this guy's going to be a stud in the NFL. And he's not. And there's 15 guys I'm like, that guy's never going to do anything in the NFL. And he did. Which tells us that A, what circumstance you get drafted into has something to do with it. B, how hard you work after you become a millionaire, which is really hard to gauge ahead of time, has a ton to do with it. So I guess I've forgotten what the question was now, Drew. But the bottom line is that the expert, nobody's right about the draft. The experts aren't right. The pundits aren't right. The guys that measure the players aren't right. The guys that have done this 20 times before in their draft rooms aren't right. A team will have a great draft one year and say, oh my God, that GM's a genius. And the next year they won't draft anyone.
Yeah.
It's random. Okay. There's a lot of randomness in the draft in terms of how good players are actually going to be. So when you say, are these quarterbacks any good? The only one I'm confident is Trevor Lawrence. Every other QB I would bet against. Every one of them.
Okay, so every one of them in terms of, being a good NFL quarterback, starting quarterback anyway, yes. And Trevor Lawrence going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, the way it's priced, I guess you just don't see any value there, right? So why would you lay that much in the minus price to him going to the Jacksonville Jaguars? Or do you think there's actually a bet to be made with Trevor Lawrence?
Are there even odds on Lawrence to go number one?
I remember seeing in the past that there was huge minus odds, minus like 30,000, something like that.
Sure, that's what the odds are.
Right. I guess the best way to maybe that doesn't happen is Jacksonville trades down. Therefore, he still goes number one, but it's to a different team, which you wouldn't cash your bet on him going to Jacksonville in that case.
The Jags aren't trading down. They're drafting Trevor Lawrence with the number one pick. All right, there's no drama. There's no debate. That's who's going number one. I'm surprised that their book's still offering number on it.
For sure. Okay. And
Okay, it would be, and every once in a while my jaw drops, but it would be a jaw. I mean, Urban Meyer took the job to coach Trevor Lawrence. Okay, it would be a jaw dropper if Trevor Lawrence is not the Jacksonville Jaguars starting quarterback or whatever. I mean, if he didn't get drafted by the Jags, whether he's a starting QB or not depends on if he stays healthy in preseason. But
Teddy, I want to throw out something that actually last year in the NFL draft, a bet I won that I'm looking to kind of replicate the way I went about winning it. And I didn't actually put two and two together, but the way it worked out, Derek Brown went to the Carolina Panthers. He was a defensive tackle for the Auburn Tigers, and he would disrupt teams up front. And I bet him under the 9th pick, which he did go under the 9th pick. I believe he went in the 7th pick to the Carolina Panthers. But after the fact, I won the bet, but kind of I just won it just because it was a little bit random. But the reason the Carolina Panthers made the pick of Derek Brown was because their offensive coordinator came from LSU and became the Carolina Panthers offensive coordinator last year. And I know he's the offensive coordinator, but when they got together in the draft room, he brought up the fact, and this is after the draft, I just saw an article, actually a video of it, and Joe Brady said, you know what? LSU beat Auburn 17-14. It was the closest game they played in their national championship run. And he brought up the fact in the room, Derek Brown was a beast, and we had to kind of rearrange what we were doing up front, and it disrupted us offensively so much. That's why they made the pick to pick him, in the 7th pick of the NFL draft last season. If you can find little tidbits like that with college coaches making the transition to the NFL, or really almost even like these guys are friends and they're talking a lot and they go, well, watch out for this. If the connections are there to a college coach and an NFL team and you can find those, I think that that's a beatable market. Anything here?
I certainly agree with the concept, and the fact that you were able to cash a ticket using this methodology just last year tells us that it's a concept that's workable. But it all comes down to the time spent versus a reward ratio. When you're digging on if you're working the draft and you're spending the time, you're going to dig up a bunch of stuff like this. You will inevitably, and that's bettable information. It's when you find a tidbit like that, it turns your average wager into a positive expectation wager right there and then, because you've got some info that may not be baked into the line. Okay. So if you're putting that time in, absolutely, you're going to find stuff that's worthy of wagers. And you'll make money with some of it. Others you won't. That's the beauty. Because the other thing that I've always found most difficult about the NFL draft, everybody lies.
Yeah.
Okay. All the information that comes out there, who teams are targeting, who teams are interested in. One of the things I love about betting preseason NFL is the coaches will tell you their game plan, and they don't have to make anything up because it's not, we're going to play the starters and then we're going to work on our depth. We need to work on our running game in the second half, and boom, there's another team you bet against. When it comes to the draft, everybody's throwing misinformation every way that they can so that they can get the guy that they're targeting. So even the quotes that you're reading, you got to take them with a grain of salt. Even the GM quotes you're reading, you got to take them with a grain of salt, because some of those quotes are specifically designed to send the teams behind them or teams ahead of them looking in the wrong direction. So that makes it difficult. Yeah, teasing the NFL, I appreciate that. Lawrence, minus 800, minus 8,000. But again, you want to risk 80 to win $1, it's likely to cash. And under 5.5. So the QBs taken the first round, there were 4.5s out there with juice. There were 5s, 5.5s. Be aware of your juice. It's going to land. It's likely to land 5. So be aware of your juice there. It's worth significant more. Jaguars, Lomar Sweet, appreciate that. There was something else in the chat I wanted to mention. Proud Babylonian put something in there.
Actually, there's a question here from Mike Campbell. When you say market, is that odds makers or the bettors themselves? I would say, Teddy, that's a combination of both. When I say the market, that's the current market right now, which is started by the odds makers and forms into the bettors themselves.
Sure. I mean, the betting marketplace opens with openers. Those are numbers that the odds makers put up. Once the openers are posted, then the bettors take over, and that is the essence of what the betting marketplace is. So that's really the bettors, I guess, would be what I'm talking about.
And Teddy, as we're getting up against it time wise, I just you said I found that information on Derek Brown and Joe Brady being the offensive coordinator for LSU. I just want to say, like, I actually didn't. I ran into that bet, and I won it because I just thought he was going to go to the Arizona Cardinals because I thought that they needed to improve their defensive line at the 8th selection. And actually went before at the 7th selection to Carolina Panthers. And later I ran into that information of Joe Brady saying that's why we got him. So it made it, you made it sound like I was actually doing more work and smarter than I really was. It just worked out that way, Teddy.
I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week. But those type of connections make sense. Provolone talking about Miami is an up-and-coming team. Anyone with any sense knows that. Agree, and he would be surprised if the Rams didn't make the playoffs. With you, James Hines says that's exactly correct. Russell Wilson doesn't even want to be there. Agree. Jonathan Navajowski says, love the Cards there too. I'm with you on Arizona. Great comments, guys. Really appreciate your contributions in the chat. It helps the show flow better. And it makes and sometimes I do better when you just fire questions at me. You get some gut reactions that way. So appreciate all the comments, guys.
Yeah, and guys, we'll be back next Monday, 10 o'clock Pacific time, 10 a.m. Pacific time next Monday. Teddy covers myself, Drew Martin. Follow him on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Some more NFL draft talk for sure on next week's show. Teddy, anything else you wanted to throw out here before we shut this down?
The one thing that you always, when you're talking about NFL bets that you're making in April, all right? And for draft, it's one thing, for draft where the bets are going to cash or not cash once the draft is done. But recognize with your bankroll, if you're going to put money down on some of these season-long NFL wagers, that's money you're not going to have to wager with throughout the course of the season. It does, however, present the potential for a big payday just after Christmas. So budget accordingly if you're starting to bet the NFL futures market. You don't want to leave yourself with no money to bet week 1 in the NFL because you locked everything down in April betting futures.
Wise advice from Teddy Covers, wise sports bettor himself. He's got a free play up here, guys. Milwaukee Brewers, San Diego Padres tonight. I agree with the play. Check him out, sportsmemo.com. Of course, his NFL season win totals, 91-41, 69%. That's since 2001. Long-term records here, guys. $9 Monday, Sports Memo and WagerTalk.com. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be back next Monday, 10 o'clock. That's 10 in the morning, 10 a.m. Pacific. Come back and join us. Feel free to fire out any questions in the chat box on Twitter. If you like the content, please smash the like button, guys. Best of luck with your bets, and we'll talk next Monday. Stay tuned for the MLB show coming next